if you're going to make a comment to someone, if it's not something that they can change about themselves in 10 seconds, don't say it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Reflections by Lily, my brand new YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can see based on the title of this video, we are going to be talking about body positivity, and I'm super excited because this is a super important topic to me. And joining me today, I have my dear friend Lucie Amrhein. And just to give you a little bit more background about her, she's the president of Rebel at American University. And Rebel is a club that focuses on body positivity, and they educate people through media literacy. They discuss health at every size, and their key mission is to rebel against society's standards of beauty, and they do that in everything that they do. So, just more about Lucie. She's studying international service and sociology with a focus on how bodies are commodified, exploited, and are used as a form of currency. So, very fascinating focus of study. And then lastly, she volunteers often in her community, and I actually got to do a lot of volunteering with her while I was at American University myself. So I'm super excited to be having her join me today. I actually filmed this earlier, but we're just refilming this intro, so I don't want to waste any more time. Let's dive right into the interview.
So, Lucie, thank you for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to catch up with you and chat about some things that I'm super passionate about. So
Yeah. So if you want to talk a little bit more about like what you do with Rebel, so more clubs, so more people can learn about the organization, how they can help.
yeah, absolutely. So Rebel at American University actually started as a college pilot program of Rebel. So Rebel was originated as an organization for high school students, basically to talk about, different body awareness issues. So body positivity, health at every size, eating disorder awareness, and then kind of talking about how society's norms of beauty are projected through the media and through basically our society as a whole. So how our world has kind of been fit for specific sized people, for specific looking people, even crossing into like ethnicity and race and age and sexuality. So it actually started for high schoolers, and so American University was the first pilot program for college students. For now, the person who started Rebel is actually stepped down and is writing a book. So Rebel chapters have actually like stopped, but our club has kept going. And I guess because we are the pilot program for college students, we're kind of a little more independent to be able to kind of navigate how we want on our college campuses. So yeah, essentially we are a group of students that meet together and we talk about important issues regarding bodies. So, fat allyship, eating disorders, eating disorder awareness, body dysmorphia, social media, beauty standards, health at every size. So all of that stuff. And so we meet together, we talk about it. We have different club members that will bring up different topics in our meetings and present about it. We have speakers come. We do things for National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. We do the walk. We table and advocate and go to events. And yeah, so we do kind of all kinds of really cool, fun stuff and important things for college campuses and for honestly our world as a whole. So my job specifically is, my title is chairperson, which I guess technically equates to president, but I mean, my approach to leading the club is kind of we're all in this together. So I kind of just got this position by seniority. Yeah, just because, I've been the oldest long-standing member of Rebel, so I know the club really well. And I'm really passionate about it. So I have a really great board of directors this year. So I'm really excited to figure out how we'll do things in this COVID era of times.
That's great. That's so awesome to see you guys do so much, like advocacy and just educating people. And the first time I ever had a conversation with Lucie, it was actually, or not the first time I ever had a conversation, but the first time I ever talked about body positivity, which is at Ryla.
Yeah, I remember.
I learned so much from that one conversation. Like you taught me so much. Like, and the thing is, it's like, and it's like I say, I was very ignorant to, I had a very like, what is it? Closed-minded like mindset, I guess, because you just simplify things. Oh, if you're larger, you should probably lose weight. If you're, thinner and you're too thin, you probably get, it's such a thin mindset. Like, oh, BMI just defines everything. And so when you really went in depth and explained to me, just because someone's larger doesn't mean that they're unhealthy, or it's like we like to emphasize that being larger is unhealthy, but yet we encourage like unhealthy diets and stuff. I was like, wow, that's such a good point. I was like, huh. So, and then I wanted to go to one of their meetings, but it just never happened. But I'm really excited to go to a event hosted by their Bell founder that's upcoming this weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the event will have already happened by the time this video goes up, but I am super excited to learn more, and I think you guys should all get educate more for yourself, because there's a lot of body positivity haters out there, like
Yeah.
some that are, you know, of larger size and some that are of like average, or I don't even know, see, I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but there's a lot of people that don't like the body positive movement. I even just watched an interview yesterday where this guy was saying, like, you know, you shouldn't be proud of being fat. Like, you should be proud if you read a book, if you ran a marathon, if you like did well on a test. You shouldn't be proud that you like ate so many pizzas, you know, like stuff like that. And so I want to ask you, Lucy, like for all the people that are haters of the body positive movement that think it encourages um, unhealthy eating behaviors, that it encourages people to eat too much, that it encourages people to stay at unhealthy sizes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so and as I said earlier, I'm a very big believer and promoter of health at every size, and that's simply that your size does not correlate to your health. You know, you can look, I guess you can look whatever size you are and have different health issues. You know, there are many different components that make up someone's weight. It's not necessarily what you eat. You know, everyone in the world could eat the same exact diet and look completely different. And that's, you know, based off of genetics and metabolism and socioeconomic factors and all, you know, all different parts that kind of play into how our bodies function, even genetics. Everything kind of plays into how our bodies work, how our bodies function. You know, there are a lot of underlying health issues that can correlate to your body size, you know, and someone who you might deem looks healthy could be struggling with an eating disorder, or could have heart issues, or could, you know, might not work out as much as you think they do, just as a person who is fat or has a larger body could be working out way more than a thinner person, and but still be deemed unhealthy, yet they have really great cardiovascular health and, you know, all of those other things. So I think just a big component of people who are against the body positive movement is just not understanding that just because you are a thinner person doesn't mean that you are a healthy person, just because you are a larger person, you are an unhealthy person. Also, just the body positive movement is simply about, you know, accepting your body as it is, accepting your body's capabilities and what it can do, and basically giving humanity back to people despite their size. So personally, I think people who are against the body positive movement probably are a little bit ignorant to the fact that health can come at every size, and there are statistics out there. So you can go look, you can go read, but I think in a lot of people's minds it makes sense that, oh, because you are smaller, that means that you work out, and that means that you eat healthy, and that means that you are predisposed to having good genes or good metabolism, and that's just not right. You know, I know people of all different body sizes that, you know, you might, if you were to put your preconceived notions of their size, it would be completely wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just taking a step back, and not that people are promoting a specific way of eating or promoting a specific way of exercising. It's simply being, not even being okay, but kind of just knowing that your body is dignified despite its size, and your body is worthy despite its size, and no one but yourself should have a say on the worth of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, exactly. We're not, you know, weight is just a number, and that shouldn't define how we should be treated in society. Absolutely. And, you know, another point, a really interesting point that you brought up is like you said that like even there's some people that are skinnier that like have really unhealthy eating habits, but you wouldn't imagine that because it's like, well, they look your ideal weight. When I was younger, I used to just, when I was in high school, actually, like I would eat like so unhealthy, like, and it shocks me to this day, but at the time it was fine, like I didn't think anything of it, but like, and I was very skinny in high school, but all the food that I was eating was not nutritious, it wasn't healthy, it was just very sugary, and it was not a balanced meal whatsoever. So I just thought that you like kind of just reminded me of that. And then a second point that you brought up is you're talking about bringing humanity back to individuals that are of a larger size. Do you want to talk more about how your size can kind of influence how you are treated in society?
Absolutely. I mean, I am not a fat person, so I can't fully speak to that experience, but there's definitely a lot of content out there that can help give you a better understanding. But what I can share is the fact that, our world is made for thinner bodies. If you walk into, let's say, American Eagle, or that's kind of a popular store, they've changed a bit now, but even I don't even know a lot of trending stores.
Hollister, PacSun.
Hollister, yeah, all of those places, you walk into their store and they only sell up to a certain size. After that, you have to either go to like a plus size store or the plus size section, or you have to order online. And it's like a lot of those popular stores do carry larger sizes, but you have to order online. So that's not inclusive to majority of our population, to be honest. Only 5% of people fit into the standard of what America deems as beautiful naturally, so people can kind of fit into that unnaturally, but naturally only 5% of our population actually can safely look as people deem the way to look, so, and then you think you go in elevators or you go on airplanes or
roller coasters,
a roller coaster, the movie theater, all of these places that aren't accessible to all bodies, and whether that be disability or size, our world isn't catered to all types of bodies, and it's kind of unfortunate. And I think that's, I guess, maybe another way that makes it okay for society to be against people who look not to their standard. Another thing that kind of made me think about, as you were just sharing, is intuitive eating, and that's something that Rebel is very fond of, and people in the community tend to be fond of. And intuitive eating is essentially kind of listening to your body and your body's needs, so, and that kind of correlates to balance and just, essentially listening to what your body needs and what your body craves and what it needs, and able to do what it's supposed to do. So, let's say you're really craving a bagel and you love bagels, you're craving a bagel, but you think, oh, that bagel is not really great for me, so I shouldn't eat the bagel. But then think about the detriment that it's doing, not only to your body because you're depriving it of food, but also to your mindset of you're going to be thinking about that bagel all day. And it's going to put you in a bad mood. And how is that bad mood going to affect everything you do? So it's kind of just listening to your body, listening to what it needs, because at the end of the day, like, your body knows what it needs, and if you're feeding it to a rule book or to what someone else says you should eat, chances are your body isn't going to be fulfilled to the way that it needs and able to function. But yeah, I mean, back to your question, I think I can't speak to experiences of different bodies other than myself, but it's just so ingrained in how we think, and marketing, and diet culture and the diet industry of what we should eat, what we should drink, what pills we should take, what's the best way to lose weight fast. And it's kind of just teaching youth and teaching people in general that you must be a certain size and able to be respected, and that's just not the case. And I think that that's what the body positive movement, body acceptance movement, and even Rebel is trying to do, is teach people health at every size, and bringing dignity back to people despite what they look like.
That's incredible, because I think, yeah, a lot of people would feel like, oh, I feel like I'm being helpful in telling you. It's like, it's interesting, because a lot of people would say, I am telling you you need to lose weight because I care about you, But I think it's like they don't understand that, like, it's all a matter of also how you say it. Because I get that, like, as a parent, I get that you care, and I get that as a friend you care, but like, you have to keep in mind there's you got to watch how you say things. It's not what you say, but how you say it. And it's also, we shouldn't be making fat jokes,
But you also don't assume their whole, like, by making comments like, oh, you should maybe lose pounds, you'll be better. And it's kind of like, well, by saying that, you're also assuming that their entire health history.
Yeah.
You're assuming that every single thing that they eat. And even if they don't eat, even if a person doesn't eat what you think they should be eating, like, it's just none of your business.
Right, right.
Is the sentiment of, oh, I care about you and oh, I love you. But at the end of the day, that person knows themselves best. And also, like, you never know the battles that the
Yeah.
person is fighting. You know, you think accessibility to food. I know we're talking about it in one of my classes a little bit, accessibility to food. And it's like, not everybody can afford to eat the way.
Whole Foods.
Exactly. Not everybody can shop at Whole Foods. Not everybody can eat kombucha and quinoa. Like, I mean, and quinoa lovers out there, I know it's not that expensive, but still, you know, not everybody, or even just knowledge, like not everybody knows how to cook certain kind of foods, you know.
Yeah.
There's family history and cooking and culture and meals. And so I guess the whole point is people try to make this complex thing very simple. And going back into kind of what I said earlier is if everybody in the world ate the same exact food, not everybody's going to weigh the same. Not everybody's the same. And I think if you kind of put that in your head, it kind of makes you realize, oh yeah, like I guess, you know, people are going to have different bodies, and also just like mind your own business.
Right. Absolutely. And you know, the one thing you brought up earlier, which I thought was really interesting, and I feel like this is a point that I feel like a lot of people want to debate you on, is that you're talking about intuitive eating, and you're talking about, and I totally am, of course, listening to everything you're saying, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate for all the people that would like to argue with you. It's when you talk about, oh, eat what you feel like you want to eat. I remember watching an episode of My 600-Pound Life where this couple bought like 12 pizza pies and they like ate the whole thing. It was, you know, it was really fascinating to see that. And I feel like a lot of people that would want to argue against you would say, for larger people, eating what you want to eat or eating what you feels right is like, it's like that's not the way to go about it, because they're like, if they're eating what they feels right, they're going to just overeat and they're going to stay that way or even grow more. So what would you say is a good balance there? Because, you know, a lot of people would say for those people that are heavier, they're going to want to eat a lot more because that's what feels right to them. What do you think?
I mean, just because someone is fat or just have a larger body doesn't necessarily mean that they're eating a lot of like fast food. But also, I guess another way to think about it too is if you see a really, really fit person or a thin person and all they're eating is like oatmeal for breakfast or a banana for breakfast and then a salad for lunch and a salad for dinner, and all they're eating are vegetables. You know, would you say the same thing to them? Like, hey, you know, maybe you want to eat all of that, but is that really good for you? You know, so no one would say that to a thin person because thin people are considered healthier. I mean, and I'm sure there are people that would argue against that, but I guess it's easier to hide in that way. So people who have those eating habits, you know, I guess it's easier to hide because their bodies allow them to fit into a space that is more acceptable and doesn't raise a red flag or doesn't raise a question. I mean, at the end of the day, like intuitive eating, it's kind of like, and of course I'm not an expert, like I haven't done studies, like I'm not, you know, I've just read a lot of books and have had a lot of personal experience through this club and in my life. So, you know, all those nutritionists out there or like actual scholars out there, don't come at us for just
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sorry, I'm not trying to like divert your question. I just want to do justice to your But I think, you know, first, like I said, the assumption that fatter people or larger people do want to eat more. And I mean, to be fair, like My 600-Pound Life, I've watched a few episodes and I mean, maybe not even a few episodes, maybe like one episode or video clips. And it's kind of tough because it's reality TV and you think of how commodified those people's bodies are and how those people's bodies have been used for entertainment. But also those examples used on those TV shows or people who have those eating issues, it's not necessarily because of the size of their body that they're having those cravings or wanting to eat 10 pizzas. You know, there are other underlying issues. Like that person is not to diagnose them, but they're probably struggling from an eating disorder. And so attention needs to be brought to the eating disorder over than the attention being brought to their body. Because I mean, I don't know how to better explain it.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because a lot of the people on that show, it's like the reason that they became so heavy is because a lot of it was triggered by traumas from when they were a child, and it like that's how it happened, is like they found comfort in eating. So it wasn't like they just one day were like, I want to eat pizzas all day. A lot of the times there was a traumatic trigger that started it all.
Yeah, or other health issues or access. And it's the same way with people who are, I guess, super, super, super skinny to a point that they're unhealthy. And by that, I mean, like, I mean, most people know, like, the reason that I'm so passionate about this is because my mom struggled with an eating disorder. She had anorexia nervosa for basically her entire life up until I was in middle school and was hospitalized for several months. And, I guess you could say her condition got so bad to the point that her internal organs started shutting down. And, because she was that way her entire life, people kind of didn't really question. They just said, oh, she's European, she's just thinner. But it's like, no, your body can start shutting down. And shoot, I forgot what you were saying, but essentially people weren't bringing attention to her body. Like, we didn't have to bring attention to her body, it was bringing attention to her mental health and her disordered eating habits. And it's the same with people who you might, or society might, deem obese, is that, or even like the example of my 600-pound life. And it's like, don't necessarily look at the body to correlate their worth or their issue. There's more beyond just what the body signifies is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much more to the story that you wouldn't know. And it's interesting that they thought it was like a cultural thing. Like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for her, her eating disorder came from, and by the way, she's very open about this, so I have every way to talk about it, so I'm not just like outing her story. And she's also very, it's funny because sometimes she jokes with me that I'm like way more into this than she is.
That's so funny.
but yeah, like, oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say again. I guess that's what happens when it's 8 a.m. But yeah, I guess people thinking that it's cultural, and her eating disorder was a large product of her depression and anxiety, and that kind of just developed into an eating disorder. And it's kind of like those underlying issues needed to be treated and cared for, and able for her body to follow and able to figure out what it even meant to eat intuitively. Because I know from my mom, at the height of her eating disorder, what she was doing was, I guess, for her would have been intuitive, but in reality, that wasn't enough nourishment for her body. And that obviously, because it got to her body was shutting down. So like for her, intuitive eating wasn't what needed to be done, but she needed to be cared for and treated in other ways that would allow her to help kind of figure out what that meant for her, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you for sharing that, because I think that, that's super important, because a lot of people, I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are suffering with like eating disorder. So, and it's really interesting to see. It's like, sometimes like you really just wouldn't know. Like, really, it's not like a, oh, like that is just so easy to tell. It's like, you never really know. There's so many different factors. Like maybe they have a really fast metabolism. Maybe they are struggling with something. And yes, and I do like that you say we should focus more on like, what is the root cause of all this? And it's in their mental health, because you want to, obviously it's an important thing to prioritize, and considering their mental health, we also want to make sure that we're not making fun of someone for being larger, because what if this all, I mean, you shouldn't make fun of people in general, but like, what if this all stemmed from something something they've been really struggling with? It's not a joke, and it's not funny. It's not, it's not something that we should be, judging people for. We should be wanting to support people, and there's more to every story than just there's more to the story than the book cover, if that's
so, and with that being said, like, you really want to be mindful of language, of like, there's this rule that I heard, I don't even know where, but it's like, if you're going to make a comment to someone, if it's not something that they can change about themselves in 10 seconds, don't say it.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's true. Like, if it's someone's, I mean, like, hey, you have a piece of hair, like,
yeah.
Like, that's different than, oh, why do you have that birthmark? Or like, oh, cover that. Or, oh, maybe you shouldn't like wear that right now, and it's kind of like, but also just mindful of language of, you have no right to tell people what they should do.
Like, unless you are not their doctor, I'm sure they have it. I'm sure they have everything figured out for the most part. Like, you as a random civilian walking into them at the grocery store, Like, I don't think they need to hear it from you.